Hello. Yeah. Okay. So let's get started. So today we are going to discuss about what are the different types of extensions in Tableau and what is the usage of calculation fields and how what are the different types of calculations available and how do we represent calculations in Tableau. So there are many types of extensions that are available in Tableau. So we have discussed about few things yesterday. So TWB and TWBX. So TWB is nothing but Tableau Workbook, and TWBX is nothing but Tableau Workbook Extract. So as we discussed yesterday, so this basically stores only the visualization, and TWBX will store. So this can also be called as a packaged workbook. So this stores data plus visualization. So if you want to send the file to anyone, so you can share the file in TWBX format so that they can have access to the dashboard. So this is the right format to send the file. To send the file. So you can also send TWB file also, but you have to send the data separately. If you send the TWB file, they won't be able to access and they will get an error saying data file missing. So you will get this error. So whenever you send TWB file, you have to send the data file separately. So that is about TWB. So let me just show you how to save TWB and TWBX. So I'm just creating a sample I'm connecting to sample superstore data. So I'm just creating a sample data, sample sales by customer. And I'm going to save this file. So do I save as? So I'm going to save this workbook to folder. Okay, so here I can see two options. One is TWB and TWBX. So I will save this as session 6. So I will save one time I will save it as TWB and save as. And the second file I will save it as TWBX. So now let's go to that location. Yeah, so here you can see both the files. So one is with the Tableau workbook and the other is with Tableau packaged workbook. So the one which I have saved as TWB, it will be shown as Tableau workbook. And the one which I have saved as TWBX format, so that is showing as Tableau packaged workbook. So the type is packaged workbook. So if you send this file, so they will be able to access the data, so everything they can visualize. But if I send this file, so as the data is not attached to this file, so it will give an error. So data file missing. So with this file, you have to send the data file also. But for session 6 TWBX file, Tableau package workbook, you don't have to send any file with it. So it will have everything attached to the data. So what is TWBX content? So it will compress the data. It will compress the data and the data will be attached to the file. Okay, so now let's discuss about the other options which are available. So Tableau bookmark, the TBM. So we have .tbm, which is called as Tableau bookmark. Let's say in this particular dashboard, I have one sheet. So I'm keep on creating the different visualizations. Let's say for product, I might be creating subcategory. So I might be creating some tree maps. In sheet 3, I might be creating some text related data. So like this, I might be having some 10 sheets. So let's have 4 sheets for now. Ship mode, sales. So I'm just clicking. So you have to control select these columns, whichever you want. And with this particular selection of columns, so what are the sheets or what are the charts that you can create? So here you can see the 24 charts. So in this 24 charts, so what all can be created using this particular columns that you have selected. So if you want to create a side by side chart, you can create by just clicking on that. So all the fields will be taken into consideration. So instead of dragging and dropping it manually, so by just selecting the columns. So let's say select state and profit and just click on this charts. So when you have geolocation columns, when you select in this state, region, country, which will have the location details. So if you select those columns, these map charts will be enabled. So if I click on this, so I should be able to see the map related information. And if you see it by using intensity of the color, I can identify in which state I have the more sales. Okay, so like this, I have different worksheets created. So we are discussing about TBM. So in real time also, you might be having hundreds of worksheets or hundreds of dashboards you might be having in your entire dashboard. But I want to specifically take one particular sheet. So I want to take out this particular tree map. From the entire dashboard, I want only this piece of part. So what I will do, I'll go to the window and go to bookmark and create a bookmark. And now I have to select the path. Okay, I will save it as session 6. So this will be saved as Tableau bookmark. So now let's go to that location. So you can see, so it's with a different icon. So you can see that red tag. So if you see that red tag, that means it's a bookmark. And in the icons, you will be able to see the difference. So TWB will not have anything. And for TWBX, you will be able to see a line. So this is a Tableau icon and you can see a line over there, brown line. And for bookmark, you can see a red tag. Okay, now let's open this particular Tableau bookmark. Now let's see what this Tableau bookmark will have. So as I have created, so this is my entire workbook, which has 5 different sheets. So when I made Tableau bookmark of this particular sheet, so this sheet will be separately saved. So yeah, so you can see here, so that particular sheet, the tree map is getting separated from the entire dashboard. So you can see it in a separate dashboard altogether. So that is how you can make bookmarks. So if you have hundreds of worksheets, if you want specific worksheet from that, so you can go to window, go to bookmark, and you can take out that particular worksheet. So that is about Tableau bookmark. And we have discussed about workbook and workbook extract. And now let's go to the next ones. Extract and .tde. So, so in Tableau, there is a data file in Tableau format. So data file in Tableau format that is called .tde or .hyper. So earlier to 10.5 version. So earlier to 10.5 version, we have the Tableau data file extension name as .tde. The full form of that is Tableau data extract. So this will have only the data. This will have only the data, and you can use this data and you can create the visualizations by using this data. You can create visualizations. So it's like It's like one of the Excel file, or it's like a different CSV file. So you can have the data in that particular .tde. So after 10.5 or from 10.5 version, from 10.5 version, they started calling Tableau data file or Tableau data extract as hyper, and they have also changed the Tableau data engine. So with that, the performance is increased 3 times more than the previous one. So dot hyper is faster than dot td. Okay, so the performance wise, dot hyper is very faster. So now you don't see this dot td. So earlier to 10.5 version, only you can have this dot td. So now whatever data file that you create in Tableau, so you will be able to see only hyper. So hyper is nothing but the data file of Tableau. So now let's see how we can create extract. So, or you can say, you can call that as a Tableau data extract, or you can call as a hyper file. So now let's see how to create that hyper extension file. So we need to right click on the data source and click on extract data. So here we can select, or here we can keep extract data source filters if you want to restrict any data in that file. So let's say you're going to create a data file. So in that data file, what are the rows that you want to keep? Let's say in this particular sample superstore database, we have 10,000 records. Instead of 10,000 records, if you want only specific 1,000 records, so you can add that particular filters. Let's say category, select only one category. You might be getting some of the records. So like that, you can restrict the data here itself. So in that particular data file, you will be able to store whatever records that you want to store. Okay, now let's create extract. Okay, so that particular file will be stored in. So let's go to Tableau repository. Let's connect back again once again. So if you want to get back to the previous position, so live connection is nothing but a single cylinder. Now let's create and extract data once again. So click on extract. So this is the location of that particular file. Yeah, so here it is stored. So you can see the sample superstore, which is getting stored here. So this is called Tableau data source. Yeah. So this is a data file that we can connect to. So let me just copy this in our folder. So let me show you how that works. So I'm just copying and click on show more options and click on properties. Okay, so that will be stored as a file, and you can see the data is getting stored. So let me just open this file. So if you double click on that, so you can see the data coming up. Okay, so it will be saving only the data. So if you see, you can see only the data which is getting stored, and you cannot see any visualization in it. So even if you are having any data in that particular thing, but we are saving the data in a separate file. So that is called as .hyper file. So which will have the data in it. So now let's discuss about the other options. So .hyper depending on the version. So earlier to 10.5 we had this .tde, and after 10.5 we have it as .hyper, which got improved the performance as well. So they have changed the Tableau data engine. And now let's talk about TDS and TDSX. TDSX. So there are other formats like .tds and .tdsx. So TDS is nothing but Tableau data source, and this is nothing but Tableau data source extract. So so wherever there is extract, that is nothing but, so earlier when we have discussed about TWBX, so this is nothing but Tableau workbook extract. So this will be is a combination of data plus visualization. And in this case, it is data connection details plus data. And here it is only connection details. So this won't have any data in it. So now let's see how can we create this particular TDS and TDSX. So I'm just creating the same workbook. So right click on this. So here there is an option called add to save data sources. So for every extension, so there is a process to create. So for TWBX and TWB, so you have to save as, and for TBM, you have to go to window and bookmark. And for hyper, you just need to right click on this and click on extract data. So then it will create a extract file. And for TDS and TDSX, you need to create you need to click on add to save data sources. So now let's create, I'm just writing session 6. Okay, so here also you will be able to see two options. So if you want to save it as TDS or TDSX. So first file I will save as TDS, save, and next file I will save it as TDSX. Save. Yeah, so now I will go to that particular folder. So I can see, so one is TDS. So you can see the name here itself, Tableau data source. And the other one is TDSX. So wherever there is X involved in the extension name, so you can say that it is a package thing. So it will have data also in it. So now let's open what does this store. So I said it will have connection details. So it will TDS will have the connection details. So what are the connection details? So let's see. So I'm just opening that particular file. So it will show you. So if you are connecting to Excel file, so if you are connecting to any Excel file, so click on this and click on edit connection. Okay, so it is going to show you where exactly that particular file is. Okay, so if you are connecting to the file, so connection details is nothing but location of the file. Location of the file that you are connecting to. So that is in case of files that you are connected to. What if you are connecting to server? So if you are connecting to server, then it will store server name, username, password will not be stored, port number, everything will be stored, all the details except password, all the connection details will be stored. And so this particular file is in my local system, so I can able to see that file. But if I share this .tds file to anybody, so they will not be able to see the location. So it will show you only this location, but in that location, you will not be able to see these particular files. Why? Because those files are in my local machine. So that is about TDS. So now let's discuss about TDSX. So I'm just opening this. So in TDSX also, it is same. So it will store all these details, location of the file that you are connected to, and server name. If you are connecting to any server, it will show the server name, port number, and username and everything. And the except password, everything will be stored. And it will also have the data. So TDSX will also have the data. So data will be attached to that. So now let's see whether it is able to show the file or not. So if you click on edit connection, so it will show you where exactly the file location. So the only difference between TDS and TDSX is the data. So TDS will not have data and TDSX will have the data. So that is about the extensions in Tableau. So I'll just list out all the extensions here. One is .twb and .twbx, which are very important to save the workbook, and .tbm, .hyper. We don't use .td at all, so that's the older version extension name. So we are not using .td. That's why I'm not mentioning it. And we have .tds and .tdsx. So before we move on to the next topics, let me just ask few questions. So Abhijit, can you tell me what is the importance of .twb extension? Okay, Akhil, can you say what is the significance of .twb? Okay, Bhaskar, can you give it a try? Yeah, go on. Yeah. Okay, yeah, perfect. So that is about Tableau workbook. So this is also called as Tableau workbook, and this will not have data in it. So it will have only the visualization. Perfect. Thank you, Bhaskara. And Akhil, can you tell about TWBX? Yeah, perfect. And that is called as Tableau workbook extract. Yeah, and also can be called as packaged workbook. Perfect. Thank you. So Chandrakalavati, can you tell me about TBM? Okay. And Nazrin, can you tell me about TBM? Yeah, perfect. Thank you. So that this is Tableau bookmark. So when you want to separately take out one particular sheet, you can use this. Okay, so Prakash, can you tell me about dot hyper? Rajesh, can you tell me about dot hyper file? Yeah, so this will have the data in it. So this will only store the data. And compared to older version, which is .kde, it is 3 times faster. So they have changed the Tableau data engine. So this is nothing but a Tableau data file. Yeah, thank you, Rajesh. So Rakib, can you tell me about .tds? Yeah, so this will have the connection details. So this is called as Tableau data source. Okay, Roger, can you tell me about .tdsx? Perfect. Yeah, thank you. And this is also called as Tableau data source extract, and also can be called as package data source. Okay, Vishnu, can you tell me which extension is called as a packaged workbook? If you save the file, in which extension can be called as a packaged workbook? Yeah, perfect. So this is called as packaged workbook. Okay, yeah, thank you all. So let's move on to the topic. So with that, we have completed all the extensions and how to create these extensions in Tableau. So now yeah, Rakib. Mm-hmm. You mean the file storage location you are asking, or? Mm-hmm. Ha. Yeah, so okay, Hyper is an only data. It will not have any visualization in it. Let's say it's like a Excel file. Okay, it will store the data in it. So you can use the data and you can create the visualization. So if I'm creating an extract, or if I'm creating an Hyper file with this particular Tableau file, so even if it has 100 worksheets, it will not consider the visualizations. So it will just take out the data into separate file, and you can use that separate data file and you can create some other dashboard. Yeah. So it's only to store the data. Okay. So now we are going to discuss about calculations in Tableau. So we are going to write the calculations for these options, like to segment the data and to convert the data type of a field, and to aggregate the data, and to filter results, and to calculate some ratios. So in calculations, we'll be having three different types of calculations. So we are going to discuss all these calculations separately. So we'll start with basic calculations. So there are three type of calculations: basic calculations and LOD calculations. For LOD calculation itself, there are 3 sessions. So it's a big topic. And table calculation has 1 session separately. So in basic calculations, so I'm going to show you how to use functions. So there are a lot of functions in Tableau. So if we go to Tableau, so let's create a calculation field. So by clicking on this drop down, so you will be able to see a option called create calculated field. So here you can write, there are 2 types of calculation that you can write by using if-else statements. If-else statements. This is the one way of writing calculations. And there is one more option called case statements. Okay, so there are only 2 options. So you can use if-else statements or you can use case statements. So in this if-else and case statements, you need to be using the functions. So in both the cases, you should be using functions. So let's see what are those functions. So click on this arrow mark. So you can see list of functions available here. So you might not be using all the functions. So I'm going to tell you there are some 30 to 40 functions. 30 to 40 functions in Tableau. Okay, so if you know 30 to 40 functions, what is the use case of those functions? So if you know about those functions and how to write if-else statements and case statements, so you have to include those functions, these 30 to 40 functions in if-else or case statements. So if you know that thing, so you can be a Tableau expert, because these are the only place where you will write some coding. So apart from this, you have to use only the drag and drop methodology. So you need to know how this tool operates and all. So if you know these things, then you can write any type of calculations, or you can do the transformations in Tableau in many different ways. So these are about basic calculations. So let's start with some functions. So let's see how we can do this segmenting and all. So in basic calculation, we do this to segment the data and to convert the data type of a field and to aggregate the data to filter results. So let's see one by one how we can do the segmenting. So let me take the customer name into consideration. Okay, so there are multiple options. So without using calculation also, we can do few things. Like you can do a transformation, like if you want to split it. So it is combined, the customer name is combined with first name and the last name. So if you want to do split, so you can do a transformation like split. So you can see these 2 names are getting in separate 2 columns. Okay, like this. So in my organization, let's say, so I'm going to create a calculation. Let me take a new notepad. I'm going to write a calculation. So in my organization, how it will be like last name dot first name @org.com. So this is my email format which my organization maintains. So now I will create. So here I have first name and last name. So with this, I'm going to create, and I will also include my organization.com. So let's say my organization name is Philips. Okay, so first name, last name dot first name @philips.com. So let's see how we can do this in Tableau. So for that, @philips.com is not available in this particular data. So in this particular data, I just have the information of customer and the superstore location and sales and profit. Only those details are there. This @philips.com is not there. So what I will do, I will create a calculation field. Okay, or name. So I will include @philips.com. So it is very simple. In single quotes, just type in @philips.com. Okay, so a column will be created with org name, and in each and every row, @philips.com will be stored. So if I write that particular calculation, so if you go into the data, so let's take 1 second. Okay, let's put this here. So in each and every row, so right click on this, view data. So here you can see org name is shown here. So this is how we can include. So if you see in each and every row, @philips.com is coming. So if you write in the single quotes, in each and every row, that particular value will be stored. And now what will I do? So I will just concatenate all these three items. So I have first name here, first name here and the last name here. So I will include the second part. So I'll take this second part here plus the first part, and I need to include the dot as well. So there is a dot in between last name and first name. So I'll just in single quotes, I'll just put dot and I will add. So I'm just doing a concatenation. I'm taking this part and the plus. I need the @philips.com also. So I will just add that here. Okay, so this will become my email ID. Say okay. Okay, so now you can see bergman.aaron@philips.com. For each and every name, it is doing that format. So this is how I can do some of the transformations according to my requirement. By using calculation fields, I can do that. So this I have created. So this email ID. So I have not used any functions. Sometimes you don't have to use any functions. So by default, by using some of the mathematical things or some logical reasoning if you have, so you can do some of the formations or transformations you can do. So like this, you can create an email ID. So I will publish this in the Tableau public and I will share the link. So try to prepare these things. So whatever I'm preparing here. So if you want to learn how to write the calculations, so you have to build some new calculations, not only whatever I'm saying in the class. So you have to prepare, you have to create your own scenarios and create different calculations. So let's say if I have sales. So let's say the sales is this much. So each and every sales has some value, but I want to depreciate that sales amount. I want to subtract $100 from every sales amount. So what I will do, I'll just do sum of sales minus 100. Okay, depreciate $800. Okay, so if you see here, so there is a difference of $100 in this value. So I'm just giving a scenario. So in real time, they might ask you to decrease some $100 from each and every row. So if you want to do like that, so you can do some transformations. So like this I can do, and I will show you some other things. Customer name. So I want to do a grouping. So create a calculation field. So I will show you how to use the if-else statements which we have discussed. So I have told you about case and if-else statement. So now let's see. If customer name is equal to Aaron Bergman. Just a second. Okay, sorry for that. So Aaron Bergman. So I'm just making customer name equal to Aaron Bergman. So I'm just writing a condition. If it is Aaron Bergman, then say categorize, let's say category 1. So I'm just making a grouping. So this is how you need to write. So this is my first condition. Yeah, Rakib. Yeah. Is it better now? Okay, so I'm just writing my first condition. So I'm just telling if the customer name matches with Aaron Bergman, then I'm categorizing it to category 1. So, and you can keep on extending your conditions by writing else if. So you can include one more condition. So you have your first condition is customer name equal to Aaron Bergman. In the second condition, I'm include Aaron Hawkins. So here I will write as Aaron Hawkins. Then also I will specify it as category 1. So yeah, so this is the second condition. I want to write one more third condition. Else if detail here. So if the customer name is Aaron Smiling, customer name is equal to. So this is the field or this is the column that is coming from the database. So that will be in orange color and it will be in the middle of square brackets. So you should be understanding that if it is in orange color and it is within square brackets, and you should be able to understand that it is coming from the database. So that is coming from the sample superstore data source. So I'm just mapping or I'm just writing a condition. If this particular customer name is matches with Aaron's mailing, then I will categorize this one as category 2. Instead of category 1, I will categorize this as. So this is my third condition. So like this, I can write multiple conditions. So the last condition that I will write is Adam Bellavance, customer name category 3, category 2. Okay. So with this, I have completed 4 conditions. So if this customer name matches with Aaron Bergman or Aaron Hawkins, I mentioned it as category 1. If it matches with Aaron Smiling and Adam Bellavance, it will be category 2. And we have to end with else statement. Else, what do you want to do? Else you can put others. And you have to end the statement. Okay, so the calculation has to be valid. Otherwise, let's say if you write some mistake, okay, it will throw an error. So this has to be the format. So you have to remove this. So this is the right format to write the conditions. So after first if you need to mention the condition, and if you want to write more condition, you can write else if, and you can write one more condition. So like that, you can write n number of conditions. And if you want to stop the writing the conditions, you can write your last condition after else. And you can end it. You need to end the statement. If you are not ending the statement, it will throw an error that expected end to match. So it will tell you where exactly the error is. So you have to write end. So now let me show you what it does. So this is called as grouping. So I'm just trying to group these items. So there are 800 customer names. I'm just trying to categorize those things. So I'll just put grouping next to before to customer name. So if you observe it, Heron Bergman and Heron Hawkins categorized into category 1. Smaling and Bell Evans are categorized into category 2. And other customers, who are the customers who are left, those are categorized into others. So this is how we can group the customer names by using calculation fields. One second. Sorry for that. Got a call. Can you hear me now? Hello. Okay. So yeah. So we were discussing about how to create this calculation. So this is how we can write. So I'm just showing you how to write the if-else statements. So this without functions. So now I'll show you how to use the functions. So without functions only, I'm able to do some of the transformations like categorizing the customer names. So if I want to group these two names, so what I have done is I've just written particular calculation like, so I'm just mapping this customer name is equal to Aaron Bergman and categorizing it as category one. Likewise, I'm writing one more condition. So like that, you can write n number of conditions. So now let's go and let's say sum of sales. Let's take sales. Okay, so this sales also automatically they are using a function called sum. So this is also a function. So in Tableau, there are some functions which will be automatically used. So sum is that type of function which is being used. So normally, if you take any data or if you, let's say in my organization, let's say I have some three people, Ajay, Vijay, Raju. So these are the three people I have in my organization, employees, let's say. Salary. I'm providing them a salary of 1 lakh, 2 lakh, 3 lakh. Okay, so I want to know what is my entire contribution as a salary to the employees. So what I will do, I'll just do total. So it will become 6 lakhs. So for that, what is the condition that I will write? I will do a sum basically. Sum of what? Sum of all these three rows. Okay, so that is what in general how we do. So in Tableau also it is the same process. So if you have sales amount, so what we usually need to do, we need to take the sum of sales. So whenever you drag sales here, so Tableau is automatically taking sales. So usually whenever you have numerical values, we mostly take sum only. Okay, so this is also an aggregation function. So if you go to the calculation, if you type in here, so this is a function. So which returns the sum of all the values in that expression. So that is how we can do the sales. So now let's start with one simple function. So let's start with some number functions. So let's start with ABS. Subcategory, I'll take profit. I'll create this as a bar chart. And if you see in this particular chart, I can see some negative values. So now I'm going to tell you what is ABS function. For that, I'm just creating one particular scenario. So where I will have subcategory and profit has negative values. So I'm just control selecting profit and putting it in the color. And I will select stepped colors as 2. Okay, so why I'm selecting stepped colors 2 is I want to show positive values in one color and negative values in one color. That's why. So for positive, it is one step and the negative, it is another step. So you can see positive values in one color and show the total values. Okay, so here I'm able to show positives on the right side and negatives on the left side. So in two ways I'm representing based on the color and based on the direction, I'm showing the value is negative or profit. But for user has given me a requirement to not to show it as a negative value. So you can see a negative symbol here. Okay, so absolute is a function. Absolute is a function which will not consider not consider the sign of the value. Okay, so here this sign of the values will not be considered if you use a absolute function. So I'm just writing ABS. So you can write any name here. So I'm just this is a absolute function. So I'm just trying. You can name it however you want, but name it properly so that you can understand. And if you share your workbook also, it should be easily be understood. So I'm just writing it as ABS function and type ABS. So you can see that function is coming inside the brackets. You can mention sum of sales. Say OK, and ABS function, put it in the label. Sorry, ABS function, not the sales. We are using profit. So here we are using profit. We want to show only the positive profit. So type in profit. Say OK, and put it in the label. Okay, even if it is negative, it is showing you the normal value 1171. So here the representation of negative values are shown in different ways. So the right direction values are positive and the left direction values are negative. And based on the color also we can identify. So this is the kind of requirements that you get. Sometimes user doesn't want to see the a negative symbol. Anyways, we are representing in two ways with the color and the direction of the bars. So this is the use of absolute function. And now let's go back to, so echoes, assign, these are all the values. If you want to, so trigonometrically, if you want to get these values, you can use. So let's say echoes. So I'm just show for one of the trigonometrical function. So let's say echoes of -1. So if you want to know what is echoes of -1, and if you are using some trigonometrical calculations in your organization, then you can use this. But most of the organization don't use these trigonometrical things and all. Okay, so this is the value of the echoes -1. So like this, you will be getting the values for all the trigonometrical functions. So now let's discuss about ceiling. So there are three functions which are related. So like ceiling is there, and floor. And normal mathematical rounding. Decimal value. So let's say I have a value 25.56. So what is the mathematical rounding for this number? Mathematically, I want to remove the decimals, and what will be the value? Can anyone tell me what will be the value? Yeah, perfect. So ceiling is the value, and I will write one more thing, 25.4. What will be the mathematical rounding for this one? Yeah. The mathematical rounding for this one is 25. So it can be 25 or 26. So it depends on what the value is. So mathematical rounding will see whether it is near to 26. If it is near to 26, then it will give you 26. Mathematically, if it is near to 25, it will give you 25. But for ceiling, every time it will take the highest integer. So this will take highest integer. Even if it is near to the smaller value, it will take 26 only. So in this case, it is near to the 25, but it will still give you 26. Every time it will take the highest integer. And in case of floor, it will take the lowest integer. So every time it will take 25 only. So now let's see how we can create this in Tableau. So there are cases where people or where users will ask, like, instead of doing the round for the lowest or highest integer, so they specifically mention every time round it off to the highest integer, or every time round it off to lowest integer. So let's take country and sales, and let's show. If you want to show the decimal places, click on format, go to numbers and click on number custom. So here are the values. So you can see. So let me just create a duplicate. So this I will just show without decimals. So without decimals, this is a mathematical rounding. So 200.86 is nothing but 201. Mathematically, it is rounding off to correct value. And 333.49, which is 333 only. It is near to 333, so it is taking the lowest integer. Okay, so now we'll write the function, or I will use the function called ceiling, and I'll take the same countries, same country column, and I'll write a function called ceiling function. I'll write the calculation name also as ceiling function. Ceiling of sum of sales. Say okay. Okay, so if you see 333.49 is actually, if you do mathematical rounding, it should be taking the smallest number, which is 333. But here you are getting 334, which is the highest integer. So ceiling will take the highest integer. Even if it is near to the lowest integer, it will not consider that one, and it will give you the highest integer. And the next case, 200.86, it is near to the 201 only. So in that case also, it will take 201, which is highest integer. So now let's take the example for floor. So for floor it is, so let's take same country. And now I'll write a calculation called floor function. Floor of sum of sales. Say okay. The floor function, double click on this. Okay, so let's take the actual numbers. So 333.49. So it is near, mathematically it is near to 333. So it will be 333 only. According to floor also, so we have to take the lowest integer. So it is 333. And if you see 200.86, it is actually 201. So mathematically it is actually 201. Why? Because it is near to 201. But according to floor, we have to take in the lowest integer. That will become 200 then. So it will show you 200. So that is about ceiling and floor. So with that, we have completed today's session. So any questions related to calculations or related to the Tableau extensions? Yeah. 25.01. Okay, so let's write it here. So what is the mathematical rounding? Okay, so either it has to be 25 or 26, as I mentioned, right? So it has to be 26. So every time it will take highest integer. And in case of floor, what it will be? Yeah, 25. So let's take another example. So if it is, even if it is 25.001, it will still be, so in mathematically it is 25. In ceiling it is 26. And in floor it is like this. So let's take another example like 25.999. So mathematically, this is 26. So ceiling, it will take the highest integer. It will be 26. But for floor, it will be 25 only. Why? Because it has to take the lowest integer. Yeah. Okay, then that's all for today. So we'll continue tomorrow. Thank you all for joining. Thank you.